A big part of me is asking why. Why is there so much turmoil surrounding this team right now? And the answer is I don't know, because this is not a bad team. By any stretch of the imagination, the Utah Jazz are amongst probably the 15 best teams in the NBA. Arguably, when they're 100% and healthy, they're one of the top 7 teams in the NBA. So why do we have so much internal strife and infighting in this locker room? Because according to people that we're talking to, including one source inside the organization, there has been significant turmoil in the locker room with this basketball team. And frankly, Jake, I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I think if you look at the last couple of seasons with this team, I think the frustration starts in the bubble. You go all the way back to the bubble. You go back to losing to Jamal Murray and the Nuggets, and then I think you fast forward and you've got the loss to the Clippers and the way that whole thing went down and the Terrence Mann situation, and there's just been some things that have been building, and I think when you look at the characteristics of the star players on this team, if you will, or the best players on the team, and Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, I think each of them has things that annoy the other person, and I think one of the big things that we always talk about on the show is this team's relationship with the officials, and I think that Rudy is obviously guilty of complaining to the officials more than he should. But I also think Donovan Mitchell is guilty of not being a good enough leader for this team yet. I think Donovan Mitchell has work to do. I think Donovan Mitchell has growth to go through to become a better player in the personnel department, meaning that he's got to be a better leader for this team. And I think, the question you're asking, why is there turmoil? Well, the long and short of it is that because that happens when there's a lack of leadership on a team, when there's a lack of cohesiveness on a team, and we can say, well, Quinn needs to do a better job, but the fact is, in NBA culture, the locker room, typically has its own culture and usually will run itself, right? The players have a relationship with Quinn, obviously, but when Quinn's not around, when the coaching staff isn't around and it's just the boys in the locker room, what's that culture like? Well, right now it's not good. And I think that part of Donovan Mitchell's game and really of Rudy Gobert's game as well has to get better. And I don't know how that gets better because, we're not hearing real positive things going on right now. So hopefully, Donovan Mitchell comes back this weekend from the concussion protocol. Hopefully he knocks it out of the park in his first game back, and there can be some positivity that comes through the team, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is a big game tonight for the Jazz, and I know that Memphis is not to be, played with.
Mm-hmm.
Memphis is very good. The Memphis Grizzlies are an elite team. But if you believe, if you believe the hype, I mean, Memphis is one of the contenders for the Western Conference Championship, and I actually do believe that hype. I think the way they're playing, but I want to focus more on this Utah Jazz team because we have been able to confirm that there has indeed been turmoil in that Utah Jazz locker room, and a lot of it is centered around Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert called out his teammates, as we reported last week. He called out his teammates for a lack of effort, and the new details are that Rudy Gobert was then in turn called out for his complaining to officials in what his teammates view in is a damaging fashion. His teammates believe that Rudy Gobert's obsessive complaining and arm raising and waving and yelling and screaming at officials damages other members of that team and hurts their reputation as a ball club with NBA officials. And I got to say, I agree with that. I think that the two, guilty parties on this Utah Jazz team are Rudy Gobert and Bojan Bogdanovic. But Rudy Gobert is on an island of his own when it comes to complaining to NBA officials. And when his teammates pointed that out to him, Rudy Gobert did not react kindly to that. And it is a point of contention on this team.
Yeah.
And Rudy Gobert, from what I understand, Rudy Gobert does not miss the point that when he doesn't play, they are worse off defensively. And he tells his teammates that. And he calls his teammates out for that. And on a surface level, I don't necessarily believe that that's an issue. But I think when you're calling guys out, you have to be self-accountable.
Yeah.
One of the things that goes on when you're pointing fingers at other people, fingers begin to get pointed at you. And a lot of guys do not like to look in the mirror when it comes to accountability.
Yeah.
And Rudy Gobert does not want to own up to the fact that he has a problem with NBA officials, and that when he complains and waves his arms and yells and screams, it is a detrimental action towards the rest of his teammates. And when that is pointed out to him, he does not react well to that.
Yeah.
But I want to go on the record right now and unequivocally state Donovan Mitchell has never demanded a trade from this team. From what people are telling me, he's never said, I want to be traded. That is just not fact. He has simply said, I am not down to go through a complete rebuild where the Utah Jazz are a terrible basketball team for 3 years. He does not want to do that. And frankly, that's very different than saying, I don't want to be a Utah Jazz man.
Yeah.
What Donovan Mitchell has said is, I do not want to go through a long period of losing in my career. I am not down for that.
Mm-hmm.
He has never said, I don't want to be in Utah. He has never said, I don't want to play in this market.
Yeah.
He has never said, I'm a star that's too big for Salt Lake City. From what I'm told, Donovan Mitchell has never said that. And I think these are two very different conversations. And by the way, if you're a Jazz fan, or if you're Ryan Smith or Danny Ainge, what answer do you want from him other than, I am not down to lose for 2 to 3 years of my career? Why is it a problem that he is saying that? And the other thing that I was told point blank is, nobody in Donovan Mitchell's inner circle is a problem for the Utah Jazz. Nobody in his inner circle has said, we need to get out of Utah, or we're too big for Utah. There was that report from Rick Bucher yesterday that said that Donovan Mitchell and people around Donovan Mitchell believe that he is losing money and he is too big of a star for Salt Lake City. I am told he has never said that, and nobody around Donovan Mitchell has ever told the Jazz that.
Because it's garbage.
And I just don't believe that Donovan Mitchell's looking to get out of Utah. I believe Donovan Mitchell's looking to win multiple championships in his career.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't either.
I think a lot of people want to take that logic and that idea and that mentality that Donovan has, and they want to turn that into a trade demand. And I just think it's such a different situation. I mean, look no further than James Harden and Ben Simmons. I mean, the Harden situation in Houston before he got to Brooklyn, that's a trade demand, you know? The Ben Simmons situation is a trade demand. That's not the Donovan Mitchell situation. It is so clear the difference between a trade demand and an expectation of winning. What is he supposed to do? Expect that they're going to lose? No. So that's why I say your point and your question about, hey, why is there turmoil on this team? Yes, Rudy Gobert is the spark of that turmoil, but I think it's unfair to say that Rudy's the only reason. I think what's more fair to say is they go back and forth, right? Rudy and his teammates, and there's nobody to step in and say, hey, what are we doing?
This is not who we are.
What are we arguing about right now? Yeah, you need to stop bitching at the officials. Yeah, we need to move the ball more, and we need to give Bogey more open looks in the corner. JC, maybe get a little bit better of a shot selection, right?
I think Jordan Clarkson is I'm going to stop short of saying he's a problem, but Jordan Clarkson's unwillingness to pass the basketball and take very difficult shots, it is a point of frustration for the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
And I think, this issue, the one issue that continues to come up and rear its ugly head is that there is a lack of accountability from the coaching staff to veteran players on this team. And that includes Jordan Clarkson. And this issue with the officials, from what I understand, Rudy Gobert has been talked to by just about everybody about this. Mm-hmm. And not just in the organization. His friends around the league have told Rudy Gobert, hey, this is a bad look for you with the officials.
Yeah.
That you are becoming a problem. Because I think the other thing that and nobody has told me this directly, but I think Rudy Gobert believes he's a superstar in this league. And he just is not on that level. He is not an elite offensive player. Those are the guys that get calls in this league.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert is not going to get calls. He is not a superstar caliber player in this league. And therefore, he is not going to get preferential, deferential treatment from the officials.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about guys like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, James Harden comes to mind, Giannis, Joel Embiid, those guys get calls. Those guys have a little more leash to complain to the officials. When you're Rudy Gobert and you need the officials on the defensive end.
Yeah.
When you are a shot blocker and a rim protector, you need the officials. He does not have the officials. And a lot of it is his treatment of the officials on the floor.
Well, and I think that whole idea is partially the source of the frustration. Hey, dude, you're a defensive player.
Yes.
You need a good relationship with the officials, and you don't have a good relationship with the officials.
That's right.
And so it leads to a lot of problems. And so, it was so funny, when you go back to the bubble and you watch how this team is developed and you really watch how the league has developed how they play the Utah Jazz, the league is not scared of Rudy anymore. And I think this is something that is starting to catch a little fire around the league and around the just the general NBA landscape. You see guys, it was so crazy to me when they played the Rockets the other day, whenever that was, that you have a guy in Eric Gordon who is typically a jump shooter. Eric Gordon is not known for finishing at the rim and doing what guys like Kyrie do at the rim, right? Eric Gordon's a jump shooter. You got this guy going right into Rudy's chest and finishing at the rim. Guys are not scared of Rudy anymore, and I think Rudy would do well to develop a relationship with the officials so that he can have more rapport and get more of those calls.
And the truth is, Rudy Gobert is just such an important player to this team defensively as they are constructed right now. And I think one of the things that really stands out about Rudy is that he is one small step away offensively from being a superstar in this league.
Yes.
He is very close. If Rudy Gobert can just develop the ability to have a back to the basket game, not a fadeaway, not a turnaround, just the ability to catch the ball in the post and dribble into an offensive opportunity without turning the ball over, he instantly becomes a force offensively.
Well, and they as a team become better offensively,
Absolutely. And so Rudy, I just think that Rudy Gobert lacks perspective on who he is and where he is.
Yeah.
And when you are at his level and you are paid amongst the highest paid players in the league, you have to have some idea of how to conduct yourself. Because if Rudy Gobert was a much stronger presence on the floor, if there wasn't a belief around the NBA that you could get to Rudy Gobert, because that is the belief around the NBA. I mean, it starts with Miles Turner. I mean, you can see it every single night, it seems like. There is a belief, and Ja Morant's going to attack him tonight. Well, I guess that he won't because Rudy's not going to play.
Yeah.
But you watch when guys like Ja Morant play the Jazz.
Yeah.
He has tried to dunk on Rudy 2 or 3 times.
Oh, it's a stated goal of Ja Morant's to dunk on Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
He said, I am going to do it at some point. And Rudy has won those matchups so far. Give him credit. I mean, Rudy has absolutely won the, hey, Ja Morant's coming for me. Is he going to dunk or am I going to block it? Rudy's won those, and I think he deserves credit.
Rudy is just such an important part of this team. He is such a gifted defender. He is such a good player at that end. He has got to learn to control his emotions on the floor. And I think that's a big part of all of these guys. I look at the Joe Ingles situation the other night. This is the other thing I was talking to somebody in the Jazz about yesterday.
Yeah.
Was that there was a bit of deflation, if you will, in Joe Ingles getting that shot blocked.
Yeah.
When he went for that layup and he got that shot blocked, it's not that Joe Ingles quit. The feeling is that Joe Ingles was just really disappointed.
Yeah.
Almost to the point of embarrassment. And then by the time you pick your head up, I mean, in this league, you blink and they're over half court.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time he picked his head up, there was nothing he was going to do about getting back defensively, and it left Bojan Bogdanovic to make a terrible decision on Devin Booker and not step into the lane to make him give the basketball up, and it led to an easy transition basket, which led to an argument. There was a discussion in the huddle during that timeout about that effort, and then after the game, Quinn Snyder is addressing that effort.
Yeah.
And then, you look at it, it's a trickle-down effect. You look at Hassan Whiteside. Hassan Whiteside's getting exposed right now.
Yeah.
And listen, I understand that Hassan has talked about he has significant issues in his personal life that are impacting him. But the truth is, just about every NBA player will tell you the arena is where they go to get away from their life.
It is the escape.
And Hassan Whiteside, the problem with Hassan Whiteside claiming that, and there's a lot of people saying that he is being impacted because his daughter has COVID and he's got other issues off the floor. And that doesn't excuse the fact that you are not a try-hard guy because you haven't been a try-hard guy for 5 years. You got a huge extension in Miami and instantly turned into a zero. You were a problem almost immediately after the ink dried on that contract.
Yeah.
And probably before it. This is who Hassan Whiteside is. He's an incredible backup center. But I can't have Hassan Whiteside playing more than 15, 20 minutes a night because the effort goes down precipitously.
Yeah.
The more minutes he gets, the bigger his role, the more his effort goes down. And you just need to know that about Hassan Whiteside, which is why you paid him what you paid him and why he was available to you in the first place.
Agreed.
So
100%.
my point in all of this is that the Jazz are not used to losing like this. And losing is the old baseball adage from the natural, losing is a disease. And it is a cancer in a locker room. And you are seeing that in front of you. And it is essentially splayed out for everybody to see.
Yes.
And it is ugly. And it is something that you have to proactively stop.
And that's where my mind goes about this whole situation. I don't disagree with anything you said there, but the overreaching point of, the Joe Ingles situation or Hassan Whiteside or this Rudy and his teammates and Donovan Mitchell, trade rumors and all this stuff. Like the overreaching point is that this team lacks leadership. That's what I keep coming back to. I look at Brooklyn. You don't hear any of this stuff coming out of Brooklyn, do you? I mean, the only thing you hear coming out of Brooklyn is that Philly wants James Harden and that James Harden is the problem. That James Harden is frustrated with Kyrie being a part-time teammate, basically. But you don't hear issues about Kevin Durant and Kyrie and, like they're good. The organization as a whole is good. You only hear about James Harden. Look at LeBron James. Look at the Lakers, this Russell Westbrook situation. You made a point the other day, I think it was Tuesday on the show. Notice that when the media was asking LeBron James about Russell Westbrook and his shot or lack thereof, frankly, what did LeBron do? LeBron didn't tear him down. LeBron built him up. LeBron defended Russell Westbrook leaving the arena after he got benched, So I just think that the leadership piece is missing from this team right now. And that's why I think no matter what's going on, if you're Donovan Mitchell, you can't have it both ways. You want to be a star. You want to be the best in the league. You want to win championships. You want to do all this great stuff. Well, that inherently comes with the responsibility of leading your team and being the poster child of the success and failure, just like any other star in the league. And that's what I think is missing.
And the hard part is, and again, this is just me, I think the hard part is that you have a guy in Donovan Mitchell that you need to be a leader. Because when you look at, I think the Lakers situation is a very good parallel here.
Yeah.
Because you have a guy in Russell Westbrook who's been nothing short of an abject failure in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
He has been a disaster for the LA Lakers. You haven't heard the Lakers crumbling in and falling apart of each other. Look at what happened with Carmelo Anthony in Philadelphia last night.
Yeah.
And everybody defended him. Even Joel Embiid stepped in and defended Carmelo Anthony. The Lakers are a lot of things. They are not a team that lacks leadership, and they are not a team that lacks chemistry.
Yeah.
And by the way, Carmelo's a really good point as well. He has been a combustible personality. He has been a polarizing figure on several teams. Denver in particular.
Yeah.
Houston in particular, where they sent him home. He has not been that in L.A. LeBron has not been that in L.A. Russell Westbrook has not been that in L.A., and that situation could have imploded on itself. Anthony Davis has not been that in L.A. Who have you heard?
After the street closed.
Yeah,
Davis.
who have you heard criticizing Anthony Davis, who, by the way, was hurt again last night? But who have you heard criticizing Anthony Davis in Los Angeles? Nobody. They're not out in the media. And you know the worst part about situations like this deal with the Jazz is that you have, when situations like this go bad, you start hearing about the inner workings of a team, and you start hearing about the ugliest parts of a team.
Yeah.
You're not hearing about that with the Lakers. You're not hearing about that with the Nets. Because, again, and I think that the Nets are also a really good point by you. The Nets have 3 veteran superstars who are used to this. They don't care if it's Brooklyn or Salt Lake City. They know how to conduct themselves.
Remember Kevin Durant and the Steph Curry situation? And, hey,
Yes.
Kevin wouldn't play through injury, and then he popped his Achilles. And Kevin's been through this before. He knows what it is.
Yeah, and I think it's just one of these situations where the Jazz don't know how to win yet.
Yeah.
They don't have a bunch of guys who have been championship caliber players. And it's Chris Paul in Phoenix, again, another really good example. They lost in the finals. You go one of 2 ways. When you get to the finals and you lose, you go one of 2 ways. You either go up, you return, and you win the NBA championship, or you fall off the face of the map and it's time to rebuild. And the Phoenix Suns are better this year than they were last year. Devin Booker is a better player this year than he was last year. Mikal Bridges got better in the offseason.
Yep.
And it's because, well, one, they're younger, absolutely. But I'm telling you, guys like Chris Paul and JaVale McGee, who have competed at the top of the league, JaVale McGee's got multiple championships. I'm telling you, those are the guys that you need on your squad.
Yeah.
Because they help your younger guys come along and grow. They make your coaches better coaches. They make your second-tier players better second-tier players.
Yeah.
So I think all of those things are missing from the Utah Jazz locker room. And that's why you're hearing about infighting. That's why you're hearing about guys like, Rudy Gobert getting into it with his teammates. Rudy Gobert's never won anything. Rudy Gobert's never been a championship player. He has never been the focal point of an entire organization built around him to win a championship.
Like Joel Embiid is.
Yeah, like Rudy Gobert is right now.
Yeah.
And it's not going well. That's why in this league and in this culture of the NBA, you have to build your team around a guy that absolutely can carry you. That's Donovan Mitchell. Rudy Gobert cannot carry a team on his own because he cannot score the ball on his own. And I know that seems trivial or simplistic.
It's the truth.
But in this league, Steph Curry carries the Golden State Warriors. LeBron James carries the LA Lakers. Kevin Durant, they are not the same Brooklyn Nets team without Kevin Durant, and he's out for 6 weeks.
Listen, dude, anybody who tells you that being the best at something doesn't matter has never been the best at anything. I mean, whether you're at the office or in the NBA, being the best and outperforming everybody is what allows you to have the responsibility of leading other people because you're doing it at a higher level, and they look to you for leadership and comfortability in the hard times, and that's why I say, like, Don needs to come back. Don needs to come back more than Rudy needed to come back.
They need him tonight. I will go this far. I think, my God, that's a great point. I think Donovan Mitchell needs to be on the floor without Rudy Gobert. I think Donovan Mitchell needs to feel the weight.
Are they saying he's probable?
He is probable tonight. There is a good likelihood. My guy at the Jazz that I spoke to last night, by the way, I want to talk about the media and the Jazz in a minute, but they feel like Donovan Mitchell has a very good chance to play tonight.
That's every day.
And we'll see. We'll see how all that works out. But you know what? I think when you look at Donovan Mitchell, I think Donovan Mitchell needs to feel the weight of the world and play well through that.
Yeah.
And grow and learn and be, to be, a hyperbole. I mean, he needs to become a man right in front of our eyes right now.
Mm-hmm.
They need him to become the alpha male on this ball club.
Yep.
I'm a man.
Desperately. But real quick before I get to your comments, because I see a bunch of you commenting. I really appreciate you guys being here. If you're watching this video right now, please give us a thumbs up. Absolutely. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. We're giving away this Xbox Series X right here on the table. I mean, it's 4K gaming, folks. What more do you want? It's 120 frame rates per second, MFers.
Lidocaine and B12.
Anyway, the point is, hit subscribe. You have to be subscribed to win the Xbox Series X. By the way, if you buy one of our T-shirts, the Monty Show T-shirts, you get 5 entries into the Xbox, and we're giving that away when we get to 3,000. And let me just tell you.
Got a couple of these bad boys left. When our artist gets back from vacation, running out a new design.
Let's see. We are at 2930. Wow.
Oh, damn.
We had a big day yesterday. 2930. We are 70 subs
Subs
away from giving away this Xbox Series X,
I'm going to say this again.
DM me on the T-shirt. It's only $25. I think we have 4 or 5 left.
5 times entries.
XL and 2XL is all we have right now.
Come
You
on,
get
man.
5 times the entries if you buy a T-shirt for every one of somebody who did
Just
not.
saying, this is $800. This is $25.
Yeah, I think the Xbox Series X is the most in-demand unit. By the way, follow me on TikTok because we're also giving away a PS5.
You're casual.
Well, yeah, be a casual. Follow me on TikTok, The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show.
Yeah.
There's the PS5 we're giving away that Jake's holding up. All you have to do is be a follower on TikTok at 5,000 followers. We're going to give that away.
Breathtaking immersion.
It's amazing.
Lightning
8K
speed.
gaming.
Stunning games.
PS5.
Okay, enough of that crap.
Real quick on the Jazz and the media.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting talking to people around the league and talking to people about the Utah Jazz. I just happen to be, I know a lot of people. I've been in the media game. I've covered the NBA for 20 years, more than that. I've been very fortunate to be around, the LA Lakers during the Kobe and Shaq championships, the Pau Gasols. Like, I've been around some really good teams.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of people. I have just spent a lot of time. I've built a lot of relationships. What is very interesting is I have never seen a relationship with the media the way the Jazz have their relationship built with the media. And it's really funny to talk to people around the Jazz and hear them talk about our podcast and our show. And know that the competition has an edict not to talk about our podcast, not to talk about the things we report. Like our main competitors, there's an edict not to talk about the things that we report on our show. And it's interesting that the Utah Jazz are well aware that, for instance, the Salt Lake Tribune needs the Utah Jazz. And that if the Salt Lake Tribune reports, hey, Rudy Gobert, is, the center of turmoil in the Utah Jazz locker room, they'd be exiled. They would not, the Salt Lake Tribune's ability to cover the Jazz would be severely disabled.
Yes.
If they were to report that. And that's the relationship that the Jazz have with the media as the only game in town. They are the only professional franchise in this town. And you look at BYU runs their ship just about the same way. And people in the media, those members of the media, are not willing to challenge that. They are not willing to take the risk that they may, that they are on the outside looking in.
Well, and I think part of that too is like, the one thing that really stands out, and we've talked about this on the show before, is that there isn't an independent media outlet here covering the team. And that's what I think leads to the very clear lack of accountability questions that don't get asked. They're never asked the tough question or the poignant question. Like, let me, as an example of a poignant question, what I'm referencing, I'm going to play you this question that Doc Rivers was asked about Ben Simmons after Ben Simmons didn't dunk in Game 7 against the Atlanta Hawks. Just listen to this question, because this is the question that does not get asked in the Jazz media.
Doc, you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now.
Pretty straightforward, right? Pretty straightforward.
Do you think Ben Simmons can be a championship point guard on this team with championship aspirations?
Doc, you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Nobody would ever ask that question in this
Nobody.
town. And it's remarkable to me that the Jazz get a free pass here. And what is so flagrantly obvious is that that's the way that the media here is comfortable covering the team. And I just have never understood that.
Yeah, to be clear, this isn't a Jazz problem. Let's just be really clear. This is not a Utah Jazz problem. This is a media issue. That's what it is. And I just think So like we've mentioned before on the show before today, it's always been funny to me that the competition, if you will, if we want to call them competition, because I don't really even view them like that, but if you want to call them competition, sure. So the competition who's on the actual radio wants to call us hacks and wants to take us down and be disrespectful, but yet there's an edict not to ever mention us. So that's what I think is funny about the media here.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not going to name them, but yeah, let's hate on them.
One particular show on 1280 and 97.5 The Zone, on a daily basis, refers to us as hacks. I can't remember how they described me, as like a former local radio hack who's desperate to get back in. I will never, in all likelihood, I will never work in local media again. Why would I do that? Why would I do that?
Take a serious look at it. Think about it.
I mean, think about that. We have the advantage that we have is the same advantage that I've always had. I'm not affiliated with anybody. I didn't go to BYU or Utah. I didn't grow up a Jazz fan. I have no loyalty one way or the other. My opinion is completely unbiased and based on relationships and facts and things that people tell me. And it's just hysterical to me that the media in this town refuses to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
Just out and out refuses to do their job. It's funny to me.
Because they're comfortable. And again, with all due respect to the Utah Jazz are never going to say two words to the media about anything because the media is not saying two words to the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
So they have this nice little cool kids club where the media doesn't ask the Jazz tough questions. The Jazz don't have to answer tough questions. And everyone goes about their business.
And 9 days out of 10, nobody's going to say, why has nobody asked Donovan Mitchell, hey, have you asked to be traded? There are reports in the media that, Donovan, you asked to be traded, or that your people in your circle or yourself feel like you are too big. Your brand is too big for Salt Lake City. Is there any truth to that? Can you please address that directly? Nobody has asked him that.
Why?
Nobody. Why not? Why has nobody asked that? Why is nobody asking Rudy Gobert if he has a problem with the officials?
Oh, that's right, because all of them work for an affiliate that needs the Utah Jazz. That's right. That's right.
And I don't understand, and this is why I say I don't expect that from the guys that work at the Zone Sports Network or at KSL. I mean, they're essentially owned by the Utah Jazz. Quite literally, the Zone is owned by the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that out of anybody at the Zone, and I totally understand that.
Facts.
But when I look at, like ESPN 700 doesn't send guys to the game. And you look at a guy like Spence Checketts in this town. Spence would rather sit in seats with his friends, and Spence is never going to stir the pot on the Jazz.
Yeah.
Who are they? Who works at ESPN 700 that's going to go and ask a legitimate question of Quinn Snyder or Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert? Who's going to do that? Whether you're on a Zoom call or you're in person. With COVID, you're usually on a Zoom call. Who's going to ask? Why is a guy like Andy Larson not asked, hey, Donovan? I would assume that he's got Donovan's cell phone number, that they have I would think you're the main beat guy, Andy Larson, for the Jazz. I would assume he's got Donovan's number. I would assume they have a relationship, right? You would think. How have you not asked Donovan Mitchell, hey, is any of this true? Just even because he's going to say, no, absolutely not. That's not true. Great. I asked Donovan Mitchell. He flatly denied that he has ever said that his brand is too big for Salt Lake City. He's flatly denied that he has demanded a trade.
So that Rick Buka report is trash. Why is that so difficult?
How come nobody's asked that question? And it just goes to show you, and it's the same thing. Like, I get more flack for the things we've reported about BYU than anything about the Jazz or anybody else. And everybody's like, you don't know people at BYU. Guy, I've known people at BYU since like the third day I got here. Mm-hmm. One of the best stories I have about Salt Lake City is, and I don't remember where we were. It may have been City Center. I don't remember. Gunther and I were having lunch like the third day that I worked here. And the the Utah Grizzlies, the hockey club, were having their preseason media gathering. Gunther and I met for lunch after, or for like a late lunch or something after that. I can't remember. But anyway, I'm driving home and my cell phone rings and it's a guy at BYU trying to like figure out where I stood and hey, what kind of relationship? You're the new program director at 1320K fan. What kind of relationship are we going to have? Like, okay, I get it. BYU is very proactive with the media. Very. I've known guys at BYU since the third day I worked here.
There is no question.
And I still know them.
Yeah.
Right? And Riley and Riley, your comment got filtered because you said I was full of shit. But what if he essentially said, you're full of shit. What have you ever gotten right on BYU?
Oh, I don't know. Let's start listing things.
Well, Kalani Sitake's contract. Did anybody listen to Tom Holmoe yesterday? What did Tom say during his media session yesterday? Hey, during that whole contract situation, Kalani and I talked every day. What did I tell you in that moment? And go back and look. It's on Twitter and it's on this show.
Yeah.
What did I tell you on that about that situation? Tom Holmoe and Kalani Sitake have a good relationship. The issue is above Tom Holmoe. It is in the hands of the university. And that, hey, who was the first one to report they were talking to Kalani about an extension? We were the first ones to report that.
Who was the first one to report that Kalani talked to the Oregon Ducks to gain leverage in the contract situation?
I believe we were. And
3 days later, it came out that he was talking to Oregon.
And it's all relationships that we've had for going on 10 years now.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. And this applies to Twitter and guys like Riley. You can come in here and say we're full of shit. That's fine. If you want to be that guy, that's 100% fine. But the track record speaks for itself. And the beautiful thing, and this is what I think we on this show have an advantage of over any radio show of all time. Everything that we say on this show lives forever on this YouTube channel.
And it's easy to find.
It's not hard to find. Go to our YouTube channel, click the little search, magnifying glass icon, and type in whatever you want. Jackson Dart. Who's been saying the stuff about Jackson Dart? We have. This guy has. It's not in question, dude. It is not in question what's going on. Man, who said the Jazz were never going to make a major trade?
Dennis
6
Lindsay.
months
Wait
ago.
a minute. Who was the first one in Salt Lake City to report Dennis Lindsay was
Oh,
out?
you're an idiot, and you don't know what you're talking about. And Dennis Lindsay is some beloved figure. You got this guy right here saying that Dennis Lindsay didn't do a good enough job. In the day, let's even go back further than that. Let's start with the Rudy Gobert contract. The day that contract came out, what did we say? That contract is an albatross on this team. That is a chain around this team's neck, and they will never win a championship with him on the roster. We've been saying that since the exact day that came out.
It's just that the thing that's interesting to me is that it is, you'll never get the truth unless and to his credit, I mean, the guy that I think has the best information on the Jazz is Tony Jones because he works for The Athletic.
Mm-hmm.
But, locally, I think it's probably Ben Anderson, who you're not a huge fan of.
I'm not.
And I think Ben is really the only one who has gone directly to Donovan Mitchell. But I just want somebody to ask Donovan Mitchell, hey, did your inner circle say? Because I think one national guy was reporting that Donovan demanded a trade. I am telling you, a person high up in the Jazz organization told me last night that's never happened. And I believe him. I don't believe that Donovan Mitchell's asked for a trade. I do not believe his inner circle is in his ear telling him he's too big for Salt Lake City.
My biggest issue, truth be told, and I hope all these guys are listening, my biggest issue is Ben Anderson, Andy Larson, and Sarah Todd have access to the team that we'll never have access to.
Yeah.
Yet all they ever do is do basic-ass content on the team. You don't write deep, well-thought-out, like, hey, this is what I can get access to for the people that read my stuff. You have a responsibility in the media, and this is what no one talks about. In the media, when you have a media credential, which we'll never be able to get because we're technically not media, when you have a media credential, you have a responsibility to the people who are going to read your content. I don't want to read, hey, yeah, Rudy and Don are fighting, and that's just what's going on. That's the best you can do for us? I want details. I want to understand, hey, where did all this begin? Like, I just want more depth. And that's what annoys me about, like, the Spence Checketts of the world. I don't listen to Spence. I don't listen to anybody here because I don't feel like their takes are deep. There's no depth to them. And I'm not saying that we're the best show ever and we're the
No.
Jesus Christ of content, but what I can tell you is you're never going to come here and get like casual ass, like just not well thought out content.
We don't dip our toe in the water.
Like, we're going to go and get to it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. That's why we're talking about it. Come in here and disagree with us. That's the whole point.
Yeah, Ben DBTZ. Hello, nice to meet you. Ben Anderson did ask Donovan Mitchell if he wanted to be traded. Y'all don't even know. Well, frankly, I don't. Where would I have found that out? Did he write that somewhere? Did he
write it? Did he put it in a paper? Did he tweet it? Like, go
I
find
don't.
it for me.
Frankly, I don't listen to. I don't have the occasion to listen to Ben on the radio very often. I would if I could. I just don't have that window in time for me is taken up on a daily basis. I mean, I hear Spence Checkett's pretty much probably two, 3 times a week. I hear Spence, but I don't listen to Ben. So I would love to see that answer. James Knight says, what do you expect Donovan to say if the question was directed at him? Come on, please. You have to ask him.
You don't understand.
You have to ask him that. Hey, did you or your inner circle, do you guys believe? Somebody please ask Donovan Mitchell, did you or do your inner circle believe, and are they in your ear telling you that your brand is too big for this market?
It's not a trap question. You're doing Don a favor.
Yes.
You're asking him a question to allow him to answer that question and control the narrative
To
about
hell with
the
him
situation.
to hell with doing him a favor. That's your journalistic responsibility. He's the best player on the Jazz. There's a national report from Rick Bucher that says your inner circle claims you're too big for Salt Lake City, and that if you go out in the first round, you're going to be a New York Knick. Is there any truth to that? If somebody would ask him that, you're right, James, what would he say? No, there's no truth to that. Great. Donovan Mitchell denied that.
And if Ben Anderson asked that question, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I'd love to see it. DM us. SLC Supercars on Twitter. Send it to me. I'd love to see it, honestly.
Yeah. Monty, did you get my message on Tony Jones' podcast? It's called Game Notes, and it's on once a week, Cody Strickland said.
Yeah, it's okay.
I didn't know he did a podcast.
Yeah, he goes on. Yeah, he goes on a podcast. You know, it's good. I like Tony, man. I don't have any issue with Tony. I think, as I was just
Tony's
saying,
legit.
as I was just saying, like, I think Tony has great depth to what he writes. That's my issue with the other people. I don't feel like there's much depth to it. I feel like it's very generic, very vanilla. I'm not
Tony
like, damn.
Jones, the thing with Tony Jones is Tony Jones goes to them and talks to them.
Yeah.
Tony goes to players and says, hey, XYZ. And then he writes XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the source. He doesn't pussyfoot around it. He talks to the guy.
Yeah.
That's the hard part with COVID is you're very detached from the players and the coaches.
Right.
You're over a Zoom call. You watch the game. You meet the media sessions are now over video. It's a very difficult, excuse me. It's a very difficult way to do your job.
Yeah.
So I get it. I hate Sarah Todd. I think Sarah Todd is a good feature writer. I do. I don't hate any of them.
Yeah, I don't hate them.
It's
but
not
but
personal.
I don't hate them, but I don't have to. I don't have some obligation to say that I enjoy their writing. I mean, yeah,
Correct.
She does, like, for what she does. Yeah, she does an okay job. Again, I don't have a responsibility to be like, yeah, Sarah Todd's the best writer that we've ever seen in Salt Lake. I'm never going to say that, and it's no shade to Sarah Todd. I just expect when you have a media credential and you get to ask players questions, that you'll watch every single Jazz game front to back, and you will be engaged in getting depth out of these players.
This is a relationship business.
Yeah.
And all I would, this is going to sound self-aggrandizing. I'm patting myself on the back. Call it what you want to call it. The very fact that people like me and Jake, who don't have access, have more information that is routinely been proven right, and we don't even get to go to games on a credential or talk to guys directly. We have to do everything through text or DM or fucking vanish mode, which I hate. You know, like,
bro, if we had a credential,
how is that possible?
dude, if we had a credential, we would own this town. I can guarantee you that.
And I don't even think it's about that. I don't want this to turn into we're great and you guys are, because it's not what it is. My point is, you know who we need more from? We need more from ESPN 700. You need competition. There is no competition in this town. You need in my opinion, Salt Lake City needs ESPN 700 to become a full-fledged sports talk radio outlet. Give me a morning show, give me an afternoon show, give me a reporter.
But that's never going to happen because that's just not the mentality in the radio industry anymore. So we need the Salt Lake market needs somebody, whether that's us or somebody else who has no affiliation to the Jazz and isn't owned by the team and doesn't have that inherent, issue. You need someone who's independent, who has a media credential to go in and when COVID's over, ideally, to make video content and then push out spoken word content like we do every single day. So yeah, it's not about us being the best, but what I can tell you is if I had a media credential, when COVID's over, I'd be in that damn locker room every single night. I'd be making video content for you guys to watch. I'd be talking about it like I'd be in that team. Dude, I would be in that team.
Yep, Dane says, morning, guys. Got an interview today internally. Hope it goes well. Good luck,
Let's
man.
go, Dane. Come on,
luck,
bro.
Dane.
Let's go.
Giggity says, morning, fellas. James Knight says, here we go. More Rudy bashing. Snuka says, buenos dias. Buenos dias. Mariachi. Jeremy Bolton says, howdy, everyone. JP Shanahan says, say it ain't so. Edgar Garcia says, Donovan, I feel like it's going to give the Jazz 3 to 5 years to show they can win at least one championship. If they can't get it together, he'll leave. I think that's everybody. I think Donovan Mitchell, I think this summer is a critical tipping point for Donovan Mitchell's career with the Jazz. I think if they tear this thing to the ground and they win 25 games next year, okay, Donovan, I think, could be fine with that if they're improving for 2 years from now. If a year from now they've won 10 games and there's light at the end of the tunnel, okay, we're having a different conversation.
Yeah.
James Knight says, listen, every team in the NBA bitches about the officials. Take the blinkers off, casuals. I would say that not every team handles it the way Rudy Gobert handles it. There is a way.
This is James saying this.
Yes, there is a way to bitch at the officials. There's a way to do that. You don't wave your hands and scream at them face to face. If you watch guys like LeBron James, Kevin Durant never yells at the officials. Kevin Durant walks over and talks to them. How many times will you see Kevin Durant put his hand on an official's shoulder and talk to him? They want respect. They're going to miss calls. Rudy Gobert probably gets fouled or fouls somebody on every single possession. They're not going to blow the whistle every single time. They don't call holding in the NFL every single time.
No.
That's not the reality of it. And I think the problem is Rudy whines and complains and holds his face and every single time. And it wears on officials. He has a reputation as somebody that will flop and fake calls.
Yeah.
And that's why he does not get some of the calls. Frankly, he doesn't get calls he should get. He doesn't. And again, a good example of this is DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan is an MVP candidate in this league. I think it was last Saturday night, got hacked on his arm. No call. He turned around, looked at the official, put his arms up, and ran down the floor. Did not make some big thing, did not yell and scream, and never said 2 words after that.
Mm-hmm.
Rudy carries it 2-3 trips up and down the floor, and you'll see he'll be talking to an official, pointing at his face, and 2-3 possessions later.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It's over. And by the way, you owe it to your teammates. You're the best defensive player in the league. Get your ass down the floor.
Yeah.
There's a way to do it.
Yeah.
The art of dealing with the officials is lost on Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
That's as simple as I can say it. Giggity, good morning. He says, does it sound like Quinn has lost the locker room? I don't know. I was told directly yesterday that Jazz don't believe he's lost the locker room, that it is a lack of self-accountability and execution among the players.
Yeah. It begins and ends with Donovan Mitchell.
I don't know. I don't know if he's lost the team or not. He's been here, going on 10 years? It's awfully difficult to keep a team for 10 years as a head coach. It's very difficult. The blind swordsman, James, he does, but he still needs to stop arguing with the officials on any team. That should bug you when someone does that. It does.
Yeah.
I agree. Dwayne Boone, good morning to you, sir. On a positive note, I like some of the young guys on the team. Pascal attacks the basket like I wish others on the team would. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Man,
Well, and you have two sides of the story here. You've got guys like Pascal, you've got guys like Jared Butler, you've got guys like Elijah Hughes. You've got that sect of the team that's going to work their ass off and do everything they can and give you 110%, even if the ball's not going in the hole. And then you have the veteran group of guys who's not working hard right now. So we talked about that on Tuesday. I think that's a real thing. I think, and again, it's amazing to me now that we're talking through this. I literally just think, not that this is criticism of Don, but I think it's just the reality of the situation with the team. Everything comes back to him because he's the best player on the team.
Correct.
So he has to be the glue that brings everything back together, which is why I say I really hope he plays tonight. I would love nothing more than John Morant versus Donovan Mitchell. I would love that.
Yeah, me too. But Don's got to get this concussion thing figured out. Neville93 says none of the Jazz or the Suns are going to the All-Star game. What the hell? Well, they're not starters. But then again, Andrew Wiggins was voted a starter. That tells you. And this is part of the thing, though, with Donovan. This is actually a really good point.
Yeah.
The Golden State Warriors obviously have a much larger fan base, but their whole goal is to get guys in the All-Star game. They run marketing campaigns for it.
Yeah.
Are the Jazz doing that for Donovan and Rudy?
Don't think so.
Probably not. Cody Strickland says, at this point, I want Rudy to call out his teammates. They need to step up and be better. I agree with that. And we have seen Donovan Mitchell without Rudy. He sucks. He's a 17-point player on 7 of 21 shooting. I think Donovan Mitchell is one of the best players in the NBA. I'd have to go through it, but I would put him in the top 25. Donovan Mitchell's a special, special talent. And this team is not built for him to succeed. So I don't know what his top end is yet. We need to find that out. Dwayne Boone says, generally, I don't wake up as early as you sunshine boys do. Well, Dwayne, we appreciate you being here, man. Jeremy Bolton says, Neville93, but hey, Wiggins is starting. The All-Star game voting is a complete joke. Yes, it is for starters.
Agreed.
DBTZ says the Xbox Series S retails at $500, Jakey boy, unless you scalped it.
It's an X.
It is right, and I think it's $499. The one that's expensive is the PS5. It's like $800.
Yeah,
it's stupid expensive. Every single player on the team needs to show accountability. Well, and that's part of the issue with Rudy Gobert, DB, is that he did not take well when they said to him, when people have talked to him about the officials.
Bro, this discussion is as it goes all the way back to playing schoolyard basketball. If you're not the best player on the team, you shouldn't be talking. That's just what it is. And Rudy Gobert is the try-hard guy, the effort guy.
He is, yes.
Hey, I play great defense, and I was hurt, and you guys struggled, so now I get to run my mouth. And it's like, no, dude, that's not – the culture on the team doesn't dictate that you get to call out all your teammates. What should have happened is he should have gone to Donovan Mitchell, and he should have said, hey, man, like, I really feel like we got an effort problem right now. And, you're Donovan Mitchell, and you're kind of the face of our team.
We are the leaders of this team. What are we going to do about it?
I need you to say X, Y, and Z. Would you be open to that? But that's not the relationship they have.
And I think the other unspoken truth on this team is Mike Conley is aging. And Mike Conley...
Where is his leadership at?
I'm probably making too much of it. His finishing ability is he's struggling right now. And I don't know if he's just not shooting well in the paint. I don't know, but this contract is going to come back to haunt them next year.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I love Mike Conley. I understand why they brought him back. I understand why they increased the luxury tax to do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's not producing for you right now, and he's not a leader. He's a very quiet, unassuming
on this team,
guy.
He is not.
He is a quiet, unassuming guy.
Which I think is a little surprising. I think part of the reason you brought him back was that.
I should retract that. Mike Conley is a leader. He is not a vocal, outspoken, call a guy out kind of personality.
Yeah.
He's not. Let's see. Spencer Morgan, good morning. Good to see you, dude. Quinn's sticking with starters who aren't performing instead of giving minutes to players or earning it like Pascal and House is really hurting the culture. Amen to that.
Frank Vogel, I'm going to play the guys that I think can win the game.
Amen to that. Spencer also says he won't bench a player for performing badly, but he will bench them for questioning his decisions. Yeah, I agree. Juan Baracco says, hi, guys. I asked Quinn about the Donovan Mitchell small market issue by Brian Windhorst. Since that day, I've never got the chance to ask again via Zoom.
So you're in the media.
What do you do? DBTZ, Jeremy Bolton says Rick Bucher is a hack. That dude has always had it out for the Jazz. Dude is a complete bum.
See, like, but here's the thing, and I get it. Like, I understand that the Bucher thing isn't true. I mean, clearly, based on the information we have, it's just not true. But the thing that I get a little bit burned on, and I'm not trying to criticize you, bro, but like when those guys went on the radio and started calling us hacks, the only thing that I don't like about that, for us, is that it's just an unprofessional take. Oh, he's a hack. It can't be true. Well, he's doing his job, right? Like Rick Bucher. Think about it logically. What was the success of what Rick Bucher did? He was on Twitter the whole week, dude. Everybody was talking about it, bro. Everybody. So that actually was successful. He did his job.
I don't even know what he does now.
Me either. Who gives a damn?
I'm
His
not sure
name's
what he
out there,
does,
right?
yeah.
So now he's got all this attention. So he did his job.
Jeremy Bolton says the only thing you have wrong about BYU is Jaron Hall. His mom is hot, and he's going to go down as one of the greats. Deal with
You're
it.
casual.
Yeah. Whoa. Comment dump. My bad.